Hello and welcome to Cricket House Gaming. Here at Cricket House Gaming, we like to explore the gameplay of simulation games, usually through a series of Let's Plays. In this episode, we will continue to explore the gameplay of Democracy 4. Democracy 4 is a political sim that lets you choose the role of a world leader and govern a country. If this sounds like something you would be interested in, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new here, welcome. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. Democracy 4 is by Positech Games. We are now the Prime Minister of Japan. We are the leader of the Family Values Party. In this episode, we will be beginning our second year as Prime Minister of Japan. So let's hit that button and begin our first term of our second year as the Prime Minister of Japan. GDP is down, unemployment is up. We had one of our major donors leave because we did not implement the CO2 policy. Poor voter perception. There is a problem with the way the voters perceive you as a leader that needs to be addressed before the next election. We had two major donors abandon us. Resignation will negatively impact this, while sacking a minister will show great strength. Good foreign policies are interpreted as strength, as is surviving attacks on your life. Royal scandal. There's an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. A prominent member of the royal family has been accused of spending a suspicious amount of time with a convicted sex offender, despite that individual's sordid history being well known. This is being described as, at best, poor judgment, and at worst, deeply suspicious. How will your government react? Support the monarch. No one expects the government of the day to openly criticize the monarch. It would likely lead to major constitutional difficulties and would be considered deeply unpatriotic. Should issue a statement that allegations remain simply allegations and this is merely guilt by association. Criticize the monarch. How can we possibly stand by and let this happen without comment? No one expects your government to call for the royal family's abolition, but at the very least, a strongly worded statement to the effect of such behavior is unacceptable would be appropriate, regardless of what the royalists and the patriots may think. Family Values Party. I'm gonna criticize the monarch. The patriots view us at -17, the liberals view us at +10, and the conservatives view us at a -12. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation. Teachers strike on our hands if we do not act soon. We might have to adjust these labor laws. Labor laws. Labor laws are basically a restriction on a worker's right to strike. Capitalists argue that such restrictions are vital to prevent key workers such as power station workers, policemen, and train drivers from holding the country ransom. Trade unionists consider the right to strike to be fundamental and not open to negotiation. We have two big strikes going on. We have a doctor's strike, and we are facing down the barrel of the possibility of a teacher's strike. I am reducing this from pro-union to balanced. Since I'm going to use 12 political capital, I'm applying the changes. Budget report. The International Credit Ratings Agency rate our government as a C. This is a bad sign and pushing up the rate of interest we pay on our debt. We must address this. Polls report. Your approval rate is disappointing. If we believe the polls, you would get just 3% of the vote. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers is best described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be adequate. Economic forecast. Good news, the global economy is doing well, and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. We have uncompetitive economy. We need to fix this because this is affecting our GDP. So we have a debt crisis. Our local government debt has started to cause severe fiscal problems. The government debt has pushed the interest rates so high that mortgage costs are becoming unaffordable for the middle class, and at the same time, fears about possible government default on its debt is driving away business investments from overseas, affecting our GDP, and these fears are also affecting small and large businesses alike. Locally held debt, government debt. What is our expenditure? Debt interest, state pensions, healthcare vouchers. I did the healthcare vouchers to try to combat the doctor's strike. Road building, science funding, military spending, state schools, social care. I could lower the unemployment benefit. Unemployment benefit is a state benefit given to everyone who's able to work but cannot find employment. Socialists regard this as a minimum safety net for workers out of work because of the whims of economy. They believe that high unemployment benefits distort the market and discourage people from seeking work. Yeah, I'm going to lower this. I'm going to use 4 political capital and lower our unemployment benefits to medium. We have 11 political capital remaining. I'm going to put some more money in technology grants. The government can provide state funding to encourage businesses to invest in new and exciting technologies, and although this helps give us a competitive advantage, it can create jobs and can be argued that it's unnecessary distortion of the market, but I am going to put 2 more political capital in this. Apply the changes. We have 3 political capital remaining. Tourism is not only a source of income for many people and businesses, it also strengthens foreign relations. This campaign will run in foreign countries, showing our most beautiful places, important sights to see, wonderful people to meet, tasty beers to drink. I may even throw in a few free tickets to museums and shows, all in the hope of attracting people to visit us. I want to generate some tourism for money and improve our foreign relations. I'll do it to about there. I'll apply the political changes. We have 7 political capital remaining. We're going to do some more compulsory work for the unemployed. Everyone receiving unemployment benefits now has to do some work every week or risk a payment cut in their goals. This includes public beautification, collecting litter, and other tasks that do not risk any jobs. The goal is to make this major workforce and get people back into a work routine, hopefully resulting in them getting jobs soon. Nobody should expect to live off the state without working. Trying to increase the GDP. All unemployed are going to have to do some sort of work. Apply the changes. For political capital, we have 3 political capital remaining. National Business Council. The establishment of a business council gives strong voice to business interests and ensures the need for business, both big and small, are taken into account. The council serves as a way to promote capitalism and enterprise, and get the message across that corporate world has much to offer, creates employment and prosperity. Let's implement this. It will increase our GDP. We need to increase our GDP. We need to keep our corporations in Japan. So let's raise this. It's gonna cost a lot of money. I'm gonna do high to about there. Let's apply the changes. We have 1 political capital remaining. I really want to do this diverted profits tax. A tax levied on estimates regarding large companies' profits earned in this country, regardless of their actual reporting. This is used to prevent multinational companies from claiming that all of these profits they earn are somehow only generated in a tax haven with little or no corporate taxes. By using cunning account trickery, tax is mostly designed as an incentive to push such companies to play by the spirit as well as the letter of the law. I'm gonna raise this by our last political capital. We are at the end of our first term of our 2nd year as Prime Minister of Japan. We are now entering the 2nd term of our 2nd year as Prime Minister of Japan. Let's see what happened. Controversial march. There's an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. An extreme right-wing political group is planning a march through our capital city. The group has strong racist tendencies, and the police are convinced that if this march goes ahead, there will be violent confrontations between the marchers and the people who will show up to oppose them. The police recommend banning the march. Ban the march. The police have given us good enough reason to ban the march. We must take into account the views of the vast majority of our society who do not want or need the violence and trouble this march will cause. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom to riot. Ban this march. Allow this march. One of the basic freedoms of our society must be the right to freely assemble and put forward a political view, even if it is an unpopular or minority view. The marchers are only expressing their views. Opponents are free to make peaceful protests. This is an awkward situation, but banning a political demonstration is a very dictatorial thing to do. I'm banning the march. We're having enough troubles in our country as it is. The Liberals do not like us by -23. We're seen as a strong leader at +10%. Another major donor has abandoned our party. It looks like, even though not keeping an eye on the opinions of your major financial backers, one of your wealthy donors has cut their support to our party. This may have an effect on our ability to campaign effectively unless we can find and replace the donor and keep them. We are seen as a strong leader by -20%. We only have 1 donor remaining. He's a socialist in minute income. We're probably going to lose him. Economic forecast. Good news. The global economy is doing well, and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. Polls report the government is not popular amongst its citizens. Only 1% of them intend to vote for you in the next election. Budget report. Our credit rating is worryingly just a C. We need to fix this either by growing our GDP or cutting expenditure and increasing taxation. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Security briefing. The Liberal League has been criticizing your government policy on the radio. Oh, they're only a 2. I have 27 political capital. I'm going to raise the income tax. One of the most popular ways to raise money for the government is a direct tax on people's earnings, deducted at the source by their employer. Income tax is generally a progressive tax. The wealthy pay more as a fraction of their income than the poor. This is the reason it is popular with socialists and the low paid. We're going to raise it to 60%. Right there, I'm going to apply the changes. 18 political capital here. Emergency powers, debt crisis, foreign relations. High-speed rail subsidies. This is not a standard rail network that drags along at mediocre speeds, but a modern high-tech rail system fit for the 21st century, connecting the country and allowing super-fast travel between major cities. The costs are high, but the benefits for commuters, at the economy, and the environment are clear. This will also increase international trade. Do we have bullet trains right now? Yeah, going up to 9. is gonna increase commuters, lower car usage, lower unemployment, lower air travel, increase international trade. Hyperloop, +9 political capital. You're gonna do high-speed rail subsidies. 0 political capital remaining. We are at the end of the second term of our second year as Prime Minister of Japan. When I hit this button, we will be entering the third term of our second year as Prime Minister of Japan. We are now entering the third term of our second year as Prime Minister of Japan. Let's see how we did. The GDP is up. United Nations Security General. One of our prominent diplomats has been appointed Security General of the United Nations. They will become the spokesperson and leader of this powerful global organization, acting as world moderator. The Patriots are up +10%. Everyone is up +5%, and foreign relations is up 7%. The last major donor we have abandoned us. It looks like you have not been keeping your eye on the opinions of our major financial backers. Our last wealthy donor has cut their support for our party. This may have an effect on the ability to campaign effectively unless we can find and replace the donor and keep them. Non-party donors here. Polls report. The polls do not look good. Our last poll put us at 2% of the vote in the election. Budget report. International credit rating agencies rate our government as AC. This is a bad sign, pushing up the rate of interest we pay on our debt. We must address this. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad system. Teacher shortage on our hands if we do not act soon. Tonight's headline. I cannot thank the government enough. They literally saved my husband's life. I'll vote for the Family Values Party until the day I die. That's the view of Tazu Wada on tonight's show, after she praises the government's policy on organ donation for saving her husband after a tragic motor vehicle accident. She, of course, is just one of the many who has this policy to thank for saving their loved ones. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally to be considered fair. Economic forecast. Good news, the global economy is doing well, and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. So let's take a look at this teacher shortage. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation, teacher shortage on our hands. So let's get into this. We have 27 political capital. Mansion tax, a special high rate tax charged annually on the ownership of super expensive homes. This tax is popular with some because it is almost impossible to avoid, as homes cannot be easily hidden. It is perceived as unfair by some elderly people who may have expensive homes but relatively low income and thus have a difficulty in paying annual tax. This is a form of wealth tax as opposed to income tax. This would use the majority of our political capital. Wealthy wouldn't be happy, high earnings people wouldn't be happy, the retired wouldn't be happy, but it would raise a lot of money. Yeah, I'm implementing that. And I'm gonna go all the way to the end. The retired are miserable with us, the wealthy are really unhappy with us, and I'm applying the changes. We are down to 1 political capital. I'll do my last 1 political capital in diverted profit tax. A tax levied on estimates regarding large companies' profits earned in this country regardless of their actual reporting. This is used to prevent multinational companies from claiming that all of their profits they earn are somehow only generated in a tax haven with little or no corporate taxes by using cunning accounting trickery. The tax is mostly designed as an incentive to push such companies to play by the spirit as well as the letter of the law. I'm gonna go to my 1 because that's all I can do. I'm gonna apply the changes. I know I'm the Family Values Party, but our country is in the middle of a debt crisis, and that is why I've been trying to address the debt crisis. We are out of political capital, and we are at the end of our third term of our second year as the Prime Minister of Japan. Let's hit that button. We are going to be entering the 4th term of our second year as Prime Minister of Japan. Let's hit that button and see what happens. Public land law. There's an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. Much of our country is still privately owned, with access to walk on the land restricted by the landowner. There's a strong campaign to bring in laws forcing landowners to make their land accessible to ramblers and walkers to enjoy the countryside with certain guidelines. Block this law. Private land is private land. This is the very basis of private ownership and capitalism. If the owners wish to restrict access to their land, it is entirely up to them. This is nothing more than a thinly disguised class war attempt by disgruntled socialists. Support the law. It's crazy to have so much open and often entirely unused land in private hands while our cities are overcrowded. This law will allow all citizens to enjoy the beauty of our countryside whilst retaining final property rights and ownership privileges of the landowner. It's a good compromise. I'm gonna block this law. Private land is private land. Farmers are happy 10%, socialists are unhappy by 12%. We have a new major party donor. Your fundraising efforts have managed to attract a new wealthy individual to donate to your future campaign fund. Make sure you keep the donor happy and pay attention to the groups they sympathize with. If the donor becomes unhappy, there is a chance you will lose their vital financial support. A person who sympathizes with state employees and environmentalists. Poor voter perceptions. There is a problem in the way voters perceive you as a leader that needs to be addressed before the next election. Budget report. International credit rating agencies rate our government as a C. This is a bad sign and is pushing up the rate of interest we pay on our debt. We must address this. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation, tax evasion on our hands if we do not act soon. Polls report. The government is not popular amongst its citizens. Only 3% of them intend to vote for you on the next election. Economic forecast. Good news. The global economy is doing well and is having a positive effect on our GDP. Security briefing. The Environmental Alliance have warned that it is the duty of its members to fight against the government policy at all levels. They are at an 8. That's really dangerous for us. Cabinet report. Loyalty of our ministers can be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be fair. Congestion card charging. I might do this. In many large cities, the number of cars traveling each day is simply unsustainable. Although fair and blunt instruments simply charging through the number plate recognition every vehicle that enters the city each day has proven to be an effective way to reduce congestion. Congestion charging would do a lot. I'm gonna do congestion charging. I'm gonna do it all the way to the end. And I'm gonna apply the changes. We have 15 political capital remaining. Oh, we have tax evasion. Anti-Corruption Agency. Anti-Corruption Agency establishes an anti-corruption enforcement agency. Eliminating corruption may be mandated, but detecting perpetrators and persecuting them is the only way to stamp out the abuse of power for personal gain. The more resources an anti-corruption agency has, the more powerful the offenders that it can bring to justice. 6 in this. I'm going to apply the changes. I want to do something for the retired. Social care. A package of policies which provide care directly to those who need it from the state. This daycare and residential care home for elderly who can no longer live alone, care for dementia, and support for women refugees and for people with mental health difficulties. I'm going to put 2 political power into this and apply the changes. We have 7 political power remaining. I'm going to do free parenting classes. Having a newborn child can be very taxing and exhausting for new parents. By introducing these free classes, parents can learn how to deal with the situation, how to raise their babies and have a normal life at the same time. It won't make babies cry less, but it will make parents more stress resilient and aware. Plus, they will meet other parents in the same situation. I am the leader of the Family Values Party, and I have been doing 0 for families in my term as Prime Minister, and I need to start doing some of that in addition to trying to balance the debt. So I'm implementing this free parenting class. I will do it to about medium. I will apply the changes. We have 4 political capital remaining. What do we have for our income? Government borrowing, income tax, payroll tax, corporation tax, property tax, converted profits tax, capital gains tax, car tax, tobacco tax, junk food tax, empty homes tax. We do something with empty homes tax. Tax levied on all homes, which are mostly left empty, generally second homes owned by the wealthy and used for a month or 2 each year. Popular and rural communities with the wealthy buyers from other regions push up the property prices, meaning that many young people and less well off cannot afford to buy it all. I'm going to raise this to about 3 to raise some money for the country. We have 1 political capital remaining. I'm going to put 1 more point in cyberbullying awareness. Can I go all the way to the end with 1 point? I can. I'm going to apply the changes. We are at the end of our 4th term of our 2nd year as Prime Minister of Japan. I am going to end the episode here. Thank you so much for stopping by our Crooked House. If you like what you saw, be sure to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to follow our future episodes. It really helps us out. Have a great week. See you soon.